Glaciers. These immense frozen reservoirs of water are among Earth's most powerful and fragile features. They've shaped landscapes, influenced weather patterns, and sustained ecosystems for millennia. But what would happen if all the glaciers on Earth melted? What would the world look like without these icy giants? Today, we'll explore the catastrophic consequences of a glacier-free world and what it means for the future of our planet. Let's start with the most immediate impact: rising sea levels. If all the glaciers and polar ice melted, global sea levels would rise by an estimated 230 feet. Coastal cities like New York, London, and Shanghai would be submerged, displacing millions of people. Entire island nations like the Maldives and Tuvalu would disappear beneath the waves. The scale of devastation would be unprecedented in human history. The melting of glaciers would also disrupt global weather patterns. Glaciers act as natural coolants, stabilizing the Earth's climate by reflecting sunlight back into space. Without them, the planet would absorb more heat, accelerating global warming. This warming would intensify storms, droughts, and heat waves, making extreme weather events more frequent and severe. The loss of glaciers would destabilize the delicate balance of Earth's climate systems. Rivers and lakes that rely on glacier meltwater would dry up, causing a freshwater crisis. Glaciers provide water for drinking, irrigation, and hydropower to over 1 billion people worldwide. In regions like the Himalayas, Andes, and Rockies, communities depend on glaciers for year-round water supply. Without this source, agriculture would suffer, and food shortages would become a global issue. The disappearance of glaciers would bring water scarcity to an unimaginable scale. The melting glaciers would also have a profound impact on biodiversity. Many species rely on glacier-fed ecosystems to survive. Fish, like salmon and trout, depend on cold, glacier-fed rivers for spawning. The loss of these habitats would lead to the decline or extinction of countless species. Entire ecosystems would collapse, threatening the balance of life on Earth. The biodiversity crisis would ripple across the globe, affecting humans and wildlife alike. Another overlooked consequence is the release of ancient carbon stored in glaciers and permafrost. As glaciers melt, they release trapped greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere. These gases would further accelerate global warming, creating a feedback loop of destruction. The thawing permafrost in Arctic regions could release massive amounts of methane, a gas far more potent than CO2. This chain reaction would make it nearly impossible to slow down climate change. The loss of glaciers would also reveal hidden threats buried beneath the ice. Ancient viruses and bacteria, dormant for thousands of years, could be unleashed into the environment. These pathogens could pose a significant risk to human health, as our immune systems are not prepared to handle them. The melting ice might also expose toxic chemicals and pollutants, further contaminating the environment. Glacier melt could bring dangers we've never encountered before. In addition to physical changes, the disappearance of glaciers would have cultural and spiritual impacts. For many indigenous communities, glaciers hold deep cultural and religious significance. Their loss would erode cultural identities and traditions tied to these icy landscapes. Tourism industries centered around glaciers, like those in Alaska, Iceland, and Nepal, would collapse. The emotional and economic toll would be felt worldwide, highlighting the human cost of glacier loss. The melting glaciers would also transform ocean currents and temperatures. Glaciers feed cold, fresh water into oceans, helping regulate currents like the Gulf Stream. Without this input, ocean circulation patterns would weaken or collapse. This would disrupt marine ecosystems and lead to unpredictable changes in climate. Rising ocean temperatures would also cause coral bleaching and the collapse of fisheries. The oceans, already stressed, would face even greater challenges in a glacier-free world. One of the most devastating consequences would be the loss of Arctic and Antarctic habitats. Polar bears, penguins, seals, and countless other species rely on icy environments for survival. As glaciers disappear, these animals would face starvation, habitat loss, and eventual extinction. The polar regions would become barren landscapes, devoid of the unique life forms that define them. The loss of these habitats would mark the end of an era for Earth's biodiversity. Melting glaciers would also contribute to geological instability. Glaciers weigh down the Earth's crust, and their melting could trigger earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The sudden removal of this weight could destabilize tectonic plates, leading to increased seismic activity. Regions like Iceland and Alaska, where glaciers cover volcanic systems, would be particularly vulnerable. The impact of glacier melt would extend far beyond the surface of the planet. The economic cost of glacier melt would be staggering. Rising sea levels would require massive investments in infrastructure, such as seawalls and flood defenses. Relocating millions of displaced people would strain resources and create political tensions. The loss of freshwater supplies would devastate industries like agriculture and energy production. The financial burden of adapting to a glacier-free world would be astronomical. Why are glaciers melting so rapidly? Human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, have accelerated global warming. Rising temperatures are causing glaciers to retreat at unprecedented rates. In some regions, glaciers that once covered vast areas have almost completely disappeared. This rapid melting is a stark reminder of the urgency of addressing climate change. What can we do to slow down glacier melt? Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is the most critical step. Shifting to renewable energy sources, reforestation, and energy efficiency can help mitigate climate change. Protecting and restoring ecosystems that act as carbon sinks, like forests and wetlands, is essential. International cooperation and policy changes are needed to ensure a sustainable future. The time to act is now, before the consequences of glacier melt become irreversible. Why are glaciers so important to our planet? They regulate sea levels, provide fresh water, and support diverse ecosystems. Glaciers are also a vital part of Earth's climate system, influencing weather patterns and ocean currents. Their loss would fundamentally alter life on Earth, affecting every corner of the globe. Glaciers are not just frozen water, they are lifelines for the planet. Imagining a world without glaciers is a sobering thought. It's a vision of rising seas, extreme weather, and ecological collapse. But it's also a call to action, reminding us of the urgent need to protect our planet's natural wonders. The future of glaciers and the Earth depends on the choices we make today. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of what happens if all the glaciers melt. Until next time, cherish our planet's icy treasures, take action for the environment, and remember that every effort counts.